The mining ship U's Valor drifted through the empty space around planet Kepler 442 be like a metal whale searching for food. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge window watching the brown and gray world spin below them. His crew had been scanning this forgotten planet for 3 weeks now and found nothing but rocks and dust. The planet had no name in any star charts and no government claimed it. Perfect for a quiet mining operation far from prying alien eyes. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and checked the scanner readings again. The planet showed traces of rare metals deep underground, but something else caught his attention. There were strange energy readings coming from beneath the northern continent. The readings were weak but steady, like a heartbeat that had been beating for thousands of years. Jake had been a space miner for 20 years and had never seen anything like it. Dr. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge carrying a steaming cup of coffee and a tablet full of data. She was the only scientist on the mining ship and usually spent her time studying rock samples. Today, her face showed excitement that Jake had never seen before. She set her coffee down and pulled up a holographic display of the planet's surface. The display showed a vast underground complex stretching for miles beneath the planet's crust. The structure was clearly artificial with perfect geometric patterns that no natural formation could create. The complex appeared to be built from some kind of crystalline material that was still generating the energy readings they had detected. Lisa pointed to the deepest section of the structure where the energy readings were strongest. Jake stared at the display in amazement. In all his years of mining, he had found ancient ruins before, but nothing like this. The complex was massive and clearly very old. More importantly, it was completely intact. Most alien ruins they found were broken and empty, but this place still had power running through it. Jake knew that whatever was down there could be worth more than all the rare metals on the planet. The mining team prepared for their descent to the planet's surface. Jake selected his best people for the mission, including Lisa and 3 security guards. They loaded their shuttle with scanning equipment and excavation tools. The journey to the planet's surface took 2 hours through the thin atmosphere. Jake piloted the shuttle to a landing site directly above the underground complex. The planet's surface was barren and cold with no signs of life. The team set up their equipment and began drilling down toward the complex. The drilling was slow work because the crystalline material was harder than anything they had encountered before. After 6 hours of constant drilling, they finally broke through into a vast chamber filled with soft blue light. Jake was the first person to descend into the chamber. The space was enormous with walls that curved up into darkness above. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as he watched them. The blue light came from thousands of small crystals embedded in the walls and ceiling. The air was clean and breathable despite being sealed for who knows how long. Lisa joined Jake in the chamber and immediately began scanning everything with her instruments. The readings showed that the crystals were not just decorative but were some kind of advanced technology. The entire chamber was a massive computer system still running after thousands of years. The technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. As they explored deeper into the complex, they found more chambers filled with different types of equipment. Some rooms contained what looked like training facilities with obstacle courses and combat simulators. Other rooms held vast libraries of crystalline data storage devices. The most impressive room was a circular chamber with 12 elevated platforms arranged around a central pillar that pulsed with bright energy. In the central chamber, Lisa discovered something that made her hands shake with excitement. The crystalline pillar contained detailed records written in dozens of alien languages. Her translation software was able to decode enough of the text to understand what they had found. This was not just any ancient ruin, but the last remaining stronghold of an organization called the Knights of the Eternal Vigil. The Knights had been the galaxy's protectors for over 10,000 years before mysteriously disappearing. The records showed that they had been warriors and peacekeepers who traveled between worlds, stopping wars and protecting innocent people. They had possessed advanced technology and training methods that made them nearly unstoppable in battle. Most importantly, they had followed a strict code of honor that earned them respect across the galaxy. Jake read the translated records with growing excitement. The Knights had not simply died out or been defeated. They had made the ultimate sacrifice by sealing themselves and their deadliest enemies into a dimensional prison to save countless worlds. The galaxy had forgotten them over time, but their legacy remained here, waiting for someone worthy to continue their mission. The most incredible discovery was that the complex was not just a museum or library, but a complete training facility. The Knights had left behind everything needed to train new members, including their advanced technology and detailed instruction manuals. It was as if they had known that someday someone would need to take up their mission again. As Jake and Lisa explored the complex, they realized they had stumbled upon something that could change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The other alien species still viewed humans as primitive newcomers who had barely learned to travel between stars. But with the Knights' technology and training methods, humanity could become the galaxy's new protectors. The discovery would change everything. Admiral Kate Williams sat in her office on Luna Station reading the report from the Kepler expedition for the third time. The holographic display showed images of the underground complex and translated text from the ancient Knight archives. Her military mind immediately understood the implications of what Jake Morrison and his team had discovered. This could be exactly what humanity needed to prove itself to the galaxy. For years, the Galactic Council had been pressuring Earth to contribute more to galactic defense. The alien species viewed human military technology as primitive and outdated. Human soldiers were brave, but their weapons and tactics were centuries behind the advanced alien civilizations. The Knight protocols could change that situation completely and give humanity a real voice in galactic politics. Kate contacted Dr. Ben Rodriguez at the Advanced Research Division immediately after finishing the report. Ben was one of Earth's leading experts in alien technology and had worked on reverse engineering captured equipment for the past decade. She needed his team to travel to Kepler 442b and begin studying the Knight systems as soon as possible. This discovery was too important to leave in the hands of a mining crew. Dr. Rodriguez arrived at the Kepler system 3 days later with a team of scientists and engineers. The underground complex was even more impressive than the initial reports had suggested. The crystalline technology was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It seemed to be a perfect fusion of advanced science and something that could only be described as magic. The systems responded to thought and emotion in ways that defied conventional physics. Ben spent weeks studying the Knight training chambers while his team worked on translating more of the ancient archives. The training system was incredibly sophisticated and designed to fundamentally alter the user's mind and body. It enhanced physical abilities like strength and speed, but also improved mental capacities like tactical thinking and decision-making. Most remarkably, it seemed to instill a deep sense of justice and duty that went beyond normal human emotions. The first major breakthrough came when Ben discovered that the training system was still fully operational. The ancient Knights had built their technology to last forever, and it had been waiting patiently for 10,000 years for someone to use it again. The system could train new Knights, but it was extremely selective about who it would accept. It seemed to scan potential candidates for specific personality traits and genetic markers. Back on Earth, Admiral Williams assembled a team of volunteers for the first Knight training program. She selected candidates from elite military units across all branches of the armed forces. The volunteers had to pass extensive psychological evaluations and physical fitness tests. Most importantly, they had to demonstrate an unwavering commitment to protecting innocent people even at the cost of their own lives. Lieutenant Amy Foster was among the first volunteers selected for the program. She had served with distinction in the Colonial Marines and had a record of protecting civilians during combat operations. Her psychological profile showed exactly the kind of moral character the Knight system was looking for. She was joined by Sergeant Rick Davis from the Space Navy and Corporal Helen Brooks from the Planetary Defense Force. The three volunteers traveled to Kepler 442b, where Dr. Rodriguez had prepared the training chambers for their first use in 10 millennia. The chambers were beautiful crystalline structures that hummed with energy and seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. Ben had studied the systems extensively, but he still did not fully understand how they worked. The volunteers would be taking a significant risk by entering the chambers. Amy stepped into the first chamber with determination but also fear. The crystal walls began to glow brighter as sensors scanned her body and mind. She felt a strange, tingling sensation as energy flowed through her nervous system. The chamber seemed to be reading her thoughts and memories while making subtle changes to her brain chemistry. The process was not painful, but it was intensely overwhelming. The transformation took 3 days, during which the volunteers remained unconscious inside the chambers. Ben and his team monitored their vital signs constantly and were amazed by what they observed. The subjects' brain patterns were being completely rewired while their physical bodies underwent subtle but significant changes. Their reflexes improved dramatically and their muscle density increased without any increase in bulk. When Amy emerged from the chamber, she felt completely different. Her vision was sharper and she could process information much faster than before. More importantly, she felt a deep connection to something greater than herself. The night conditioning had awakened a driving need to protect innocent people that was stronger than any emotion she had ever experienced. She could sense the same change in Rick and Helen, who had completed their transformations at the same time. The three new knights also discovered that they were connected to each other in ways that science could not explain. They could sense each other's thoughts and emotions and seemed to move with perfect coordination without any verbal communication. Dr. Rodriguez's scans showed that their brainwaves had synchronized, and they were sharing information on a subconscious level. The first human knights had been born, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The alarm bells on New Haven Colony rang across the peaceful farming settlement as 3 Zephyrian attack ships descended from the cloudy sky. The colonists had been living quietly on this agricultural world for 15 years, growing food for the expanding human territories. They had never expected to see enemy warships in their peaceful system. Most of the settlers were farmers and engineers with no military training or weapons to defend themselves. Commander Sarah Blake watched the alien ships approach from the colony's small command center. She had only 20 security guards and a few old patrol boats to protect 8,000 civilians. The Zephyrian Collective was known for their brutal raids on undefended worlds. They would take everything valuable and leave the colonists to starve or sell them as slaves to other alien species. Sarah sent an emergency message to Earth Command but knew that help would arrive too late. The nearest human military base was 3 days away by the fastest ships. The colonists would have to face the Zephyrian raiders alone with whatever weapons they could find. Sarah ordered all civilians to evacuate to the underground shelters while her security teams prepared for a hopeless battle. The 3 knights who had been conducting training exercises in the outer system felt the distress of the colonists like a physical pain. Amy Foster was piloting a small scout ship when the overwhelming sense of innocent people in danger hit her mind. The night conditioning had changed her in ways that she was still discovering. She could feel the fear and desperation of the colonists as if they were her own family members. Rick Davis and Helen Brooks were aboard a transport ship practicing their new abilities when they felt the same urgent call. The neural link between the knights allowed them to share thoughts and emotions instantly. They could feel Amy's determination to help the colonists and knew that they had to act immediately. The 3 knights were outnumbered and outgunned, but they could not ignore the suffering of innocent people. Amy changed course toward New Haven while Rick and Helen commandeered the transport ship. The vessels were not designed for combat, but the knights had access to experimental weapons from the ancient archives. Dr. Rodriguez had been studying knight technology for months and had managed to reproduce some of their advanced energy weapons. The weapons were powerful but untested in real combat situations. The Zephyrian ships were massive compared to the small human vessels. Each raider ship carried 50 elite soldiers with advanced armor and weapons. The Zephyrians had been conducting raids for centuries and were confident that they could overwhelm any human resistance. They had studied human military tactics and believed they understood human capabilities and limitations. Amy approached the lead Zephyrian ship with her enhanced reflexes, allowing her to dodge their defensive fire. The night conditioning had given her almost supernatural awareness of danger and the ability to predict enemy movements. She felt the hostile intent of the alien gunners and moved her ship away from their targeting systems before they could lock onto her position. Rick and Helen coordinated their attack through their neural link without speaking a single word. They moved their transport ship into position while Amy distracted the enemy fighters. The Knights fought as a single organism with perfect timing and coordination. Their enhanced tactical thinking allowed them to see weaknesses in the Zephyrian formation that trained human pilots would have missed. The battle was swift and decisive despite the overwhelming odds. Amy's scout ship darted between the larger vessels like a small fish avoiding sharks. Her energy weapons cut through the Zephyrian shields and armor with ease. Rick and Helen disabled the enemy ship's engines and weapon systems while avoiding civilian casualties on the ground below. The Zephyrian commander was shocked by the sudden appearance of human fighters who moved with impossible skill and precision. His sensors showed that the human ships were small and lightly armed, but they were fighting with tactical abilities that surpassed his best pilots. The human weapons were also far more advanced than anything in the intelligence reports about human military capabilities. Within 30 minutes, all three Zephyrian ships were disabled and drifting helplessly in space. The Knights had achieved complete victory without destroying the enemy vessels or killing unnecessary personnel. The ancient Knight Code emphasized protecting life whenever possible, even when dealing with enemies. Amy felt satisfaction at the successful mission, but also regret for the Zephyrian soldiers, who had been injured in the battle. The colonists emerged from their shelters to find their world saved by three mysterious human pilots. Commander Blake tried to thank the Knights, but they had already departed for their next mission. News of the victory spread quickly through human communication networks and reached alien intelligence services within hours. The galaxy was stunned to learn that humanity had produced warriors capable of defeating elite Zephyrian forces. The battle reports described human fighters who moved with supernatural skill and fought with advanced weapons that had never been seen before. More importantly, the humans had shown remarkable restraint by capturing enemy ships instead of destroying them. The Age of the Knights had begun. The victory at New Haven sent shockwaves through the galaxy that reached every major alien government within days. Admiral Kate Williams found herself fielding calls from species she had never heard of before, asking questions about the mysterious human warriors who had defeated the Zephyrians. The galactic intelligence networks were buzzing with reports and theories about what humanity had discovered or developed in secret. Commander Tony Miller was assigned to oversee the rapid expansion of the Knight program across human space. The success of the first three Knights had proven that the ancient training system worked perfectly and could create warriors capable of protecting human colonies from any threat. Tony established new training facilities on 12 different worlds, including Earth's moon and the Mars orbital stations. Dr. Susan Clark joined Dr. Rodriguez's research team and began unlocking deeper sections of the Knight archives. Each new discovery revealed more advanced technologies and training methods that the ancient Knights had developed over thousands of years. The archives contained detailed combat manuals and philosophical teachings that emphasized protecting innocent life above all other considerations. The transformation process was expanded to handle larger groups of volunteers, but the selection criteria remained extremely strict. The Knight system would only accept individuals who demonstrated genuine compassion for others and an unwavering commitment to justice. Military rank and combat experience were less important than moral character and the willingness to sacrifice personal safety for the greater good. Captain Peter Stone was among the second group of volunteers to undergo the Knight transformation. He had served as a peacekeeping officer on several frontier worlds and had always put civilian safety above military objectives. The training chamber accepted him immediately and began the 3-day process that would fundamentally alter his mind and body forever. When Peter emerged from the chamber, he felt a profound connection to something greater than himself. The night conditioning had awakened abilities that he never knew existed. He could sense the emotional state of people around him and detect lies or hostile intentions with remarkable accuracy. More importantly, he felt a deep sense of responsibility to protect anyone who needed help regardless of the personal cost. Lieutenant Mary Johnson completed her transformation at the same time as Peter and discovered that she had developed the ability to inspire courage in others simply through her presence. Frightened civilians became calm and determined when she spoke to them. Enemy soldiers sometimes laid down their weapons rather than fight against someone who radiated such moral authority and inner strength. The expanding night program attracted attention from humanity's alien allies who were curious about these new developments. The Andorian Republic had been trading partners with Earth for decades and had always maintained friendly relations with human colonies. Ambassador Kethra requested permission to observe night training sessions and was amazed by what she witnessed. The Andorians had been struggling with pirate raids along their border systems for years. Their military forces were effective, but they lacked the mobility and tactical flexibility to hunt down fast-moving raider fleets. Ambassador Kethra formally requested night assistance in dealing with the pirate problem and offered to share Andorian navigation technology in exchange for protection. The Centauri Federation maintained a more cautious relationship with humanity, but they were also interested in the night program. Their intelligence services had been monitoring human military developments for signs of aggressive expansion. Instead, they discovered that the Knights seemed to be genuinely dedicated to protecting innocent people rather than conquering territory or resources. The first major test of the expanded Night program came when reports reached Earth about a new threat that was terrorizing worlds across the galaxy. Ancient enemies called the Void Hunters had somehow escaped from their dimensional prison and were attacking civilizations throughout known space. These creatures were unlike anything the current galactic powers had ever faced before. The Void Hunters did not simply conquer worlds like normal military forces. They consumed entire star systems, leaving behind empty space where planets and stars had once existed. Conventional weapons were useless against entities that could phase in and out of normal reality at will. The established galactic governments were helpless against this ancient threat. Dr. Clark made a breakthrough discovery while studying the deepest sections of the Night archives. The original Knights had fought the Void Hunters for thousands of years before finally defeating them through tremendous sacrifice. The archives contained detailed information about Void Hunter tactics and weaknesses that no current civilization possessed. The ancient Knights had developed special weapons and techniques, specifically designed to combat entities that existed partially outside normal space and time. These weapons required the enhanced mental abilities that only night training could provide. Regular soldiers could not even perceive the Void Hunters properly, let alone fight them effectively. Night Commander Alex Turner was assigned to lead the first major mission against the Void Hunters. He had completed advanced training using the ancient combat techniques and had mastered the specialized weapon systems. 50 Knights from across human space volunteered to join the mission, knowing that they would be facing humanity's greatest challenge. The galaxy watched nervously as human Knights prepared to battle enemies that had defeated the most advanced civilizations in history. The outcome of this battle would determine whether humanity would become the galaxy's new protectors or join the countless worlds that had already fallen to the Void Hunters. The ancient enemy had returned, and only the Knights could stop them. The news of the Void Hunter attack on the Rigel system reached Earth Command within hours of the first reported sighting. General Chris Baker watched the emergency briefing with growing concern as the reports described entire planets simply vanishing from existence. The Rigel colonies had been home to 15 million people across 4 worlds, and now there was nothing left but empty space where the star system had been. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session as panic spread through civilized space. The Altarian Empire lost 3 border worlds in a single day, while the Centauri Federation watched helplessly as their most advanced fleet was destroyed without inflicting any damage on the attacking creatures. The established galactic powers found their weapons useless against enemies that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions. Simultaneously, Knight Commander Alex Turner received the call to action while training with his team on the lunar facilities. The 50 knights under his command represented the most advanced warriors humanity had ever produced. They had mastered the ancient combat techniques and weapon systems that were specifically designed to fight entities like the Void Hunters. Alex felt the weight of responsibility knowing that the galaxy's survival might depend on their success. Dr. Rachel Moore had been studying the Knight neural network that connected all trained knights across human space. The bond between knights had grown stronger as their numbers increased and now allowed them to share experiences and knowledge instantaneously. This collective consciousness was exactly how the original knights had operated thousands of years ago. When they first battled the Void Hunters, the first major confrontation took place at the Sigma Draconis system, where a Void Hunter assault fleet had appeared near the heavily populated mining colonies. The creatures were massive and seemed to shift between solid and translucent states as they moved through space. Their ships defied normal physics by existing in normal space and some other dimension at the same time. Alex led his knights into battle aboard specially modified ships equipped with weapons based on ancient knight technology. The weapons fired energy that could affect targets across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The knights themselves could perceive the Void Hunters' true nature through their enhanced awareness, while normal humans could barely see the creatures at all. The battle was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The Void Hunters attacked with tactics that seemed to come from outside normal space and time. They could appear behind enemy ships without warning and phase through solid matter to attack from within. Their weapons drained the life force from entire crews, leaving behind empty ships drifting in space. The knights fought with perfect coordination through their neural link. Amy Foster commanded the left wing while Rick Davis led the assault on the enemy flagship. Helen Brooks coordinated the defense of the mining stations while Peter Stone and Mary Johnson provided tactical support from the command ship, the 50. Knights moved as one organism, with each individual contributing their unique abilities to the collective effort. The Void Hunters had not faced opponents like the Knights for 10,000 years. These human warriors could see through their dimensional tricks and predicted their attacks before they happened. The Knight weapons cut through the creatures' defenses and forced them to fight in normal space where they were more vulnerable to conventional tactics. The battle raged for 6 hours across the entire star system. The Knights lost 12 of their number but managed to destroy the entire Void Hunter fleet. The creatures' death screams echoed across multiple dimensions as they were finally sent back to the prison that had held them for millennia. The mining colonies were saved, and the galaxy had witnessed the first victory against the ancient enemy. News of the victory at Sigma Draconis spread through galactic communication networks faster than any previous event in history. Species that had viewed humanity as insignificant newcomers suddenly found themselves seeking human protection. The Galactic Council formally recognized the Knights as the legitimate successors to the ancient order and granted them authority to operate across all member worlds. The Altarian Empire, which had existed for over 50,000 years, sent a formal request for Knight protection. Ambassador Veltar arrived at Earth with an offer of complete technological exchange in return for establishing Knight chapters on Altarian worlds. The proud and ancient species was willing to share their most advanced secrets with humanity. In exchange for protection from the Void Hunters, the Centauri Federation followed with their own request for Knight assistance. Chancellor Morden offered to provide unlimited funding for Knight training facilities throughout human space. The Federation's vast resources would allow the Knight program to expand far beyond what Earth could support alone. Smaller species and independent worlds flooded Earth's diplomatic channels with requests for Knight protection. The galaxy had found its new guardians, and they bore human faces. For the first time in galactic history, humanity was not just a participant in galactic civilization, but its most important protector. The transformation was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the first night awakening, the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Knight Commander Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new Knight headquarters orbiting Earth and watched ships from dozens of alien species arriving to meet with human representatives. The man who had discovered the ancient archives was now the leader of an organization that protected billions of lives. Across thousands of worlds, the Knight program had expanded to over 1,000 active members spread across human space and beyond. Every human colony now had at least one Knight chapter house where local volunteers could begin their training. The selection process remained strict, but the number of qualified candidates had increased as human society began to embrace the values of honor and justice that drove the Knights. Captain Amy Foster commanded the first Knight chapter established on an alien world. The Andorian Republic had requested her presence on their homeworld after pirate raids threatened their most important trade routes. Amy worked alongside Andorian security forces and discovered that the Knight training enhanced her ability to work with alien allies. She could sense their thoughts and intentions through the same neural pathways that connected her to other Knights. The most significant change was in humanity's role within galactic politics. Species that had once looked down on human technology and culture now sent their finest warriors to train alongside the Knights. The training process could not transform aliens the same way it affected humans, but it taught them the tactical skills and moral principles that made the Knights so effective. The Altarian Empire had made the most dramatic gesture by formally requesting that a Knight chapter be established on their ancient capital world. The Altarians were the galaxy's oldest civilization and had never allowed alien military forces on their territory before. The request acknowledged humanity's new status as the galaxy's primary defenders and protectors. Dr. Lisa Carter continued her research into the Knight archives and made discoveries that suggested an even greater destiny for humanity. The Knights had been part of a galactic civilization that achieved unprecedented peace and prosperity before the Void Hunter Wars began. The archives described a golden age when countless species worked together under Knight protection to build wonders that current technology could barely imagine. The influence of Knight values spread beyond the military into human civilian society. Crime rates dropped dramatically on worlds with Knight chapters as the ideals of honor and justice inspired ordinary citizens. Human diplomatic missions found themselves welcomed with respect rather than the polite tolerance they had received before. The galaxy was beginning to see humans as natural leaders rather than newcomers. Commander Steve Phillips established the Knight Academy on Mars, where selected candidates from across human space came to receive advanced training. The Academy taught not only combat skills but also philosophy and ethics that emphasized protecting innocent life above all other considerations. The Knights were becoming more than just warriors, but examples of what humanity could achieve when guided by noble principles. The galaxy had also become safer for everyone, as Knight patrols eliminated threats that had plagued trade routes for centuries. Pirate fleets that had operated with impunity for decades found themselves hunted by Knights who could track them across multiple star systems. Slave traders who had profited from selling captured civilians discovered that Knights would travel anywhere to rescue their victims. The most remarkable development was the emergence of a new form of galactic government. The old Galactic Council had been dominated by the largest and most powerful species, who made decisions based on their own interests. The Knights created a new system where protection was offered to any world that needed help regardless of their size or political importance. Smaller species and independent colonies that had been ignored by the major powers suddenly found themselves protected by the most effective military force in the galaxy. The Knights did not demand tribute or political loyalty in exchange for their protection. They only asked that worlds under their care treat their citizens with justice and respect. Basic rights. The transformation had profound effects on human culture itself. The Knight conditioning had begun to influence humanity beyond just those who underwent the training. Children growing up on worlds with night chapters showed increased empathy and sense of justice. Human art and literature began to reflect themes of honor and sacrifice that had not been prominent before. Captain Peter Stone led a mission to establish diplomatic contact with species in the galaxy's outer rim who had never joined the Galactic Council. These isolated civilizations had heard rumors about the human knights and wanted to learn if the stories were true. Peter's team found worlds that had been living in fear of raiders and hostile neighbors for generations, but were now eager to join the growing community of protected worlds. As Jake Morrison reviewed reports from night operations across the galaxy, he realized that humanity had found its true purpose among the stars. They were not meant to be just another species competing for resources and territory, but guardians who protected all life in the galaxy. The knights had returned, and this time they would never fall. The galaxy had been reborn under human protection, and the future held infinite possibilities for peace and prosperity among the stars.